Hey guys, so for July's monthly celebrations video, I am going to go very traditional for July and do a 4th of July themed layout. So pretty much what I had decided that I wanted to do is I want to have two of these sort of long skinny photo collages, and then I stuck some 3x4s on my print just to kind of save space on printing. And I'm going to trim these down and kind of have them over here. If you took my class, kind of similar to one of the sketches in that is sort of where I'm going. And then within the photos that are tucked behind my collage, I want to do like a die cut scene with like the title, patriotic die cut shapes, stuff like that, stickers, labels, just kind of have fun with, you know, the top half of the layout, and maybe have the bottom half of the layout be sort of picture heavy and just kind of keep everything down there. I don't have a whole lot of patriotic stuff. Luckily, a couple years ago when Doodlebug had come out with Patriotic Parade, I bought some of the paper for that. So I think I've got maybe like 6 sheets. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I've got 6 of the patterns. And I was kind of hoping I had the 6x6 of this just to kind of pull from, but I do not. And then I had already stashed some Bo Bunny Double Dot with these papers. This is sort of what I prefer to cut on my silhouette. I just find that it cuts a little smoother, and I'm used to it from doing Disney characters for classes and stuff. So I tend to have a lot of that on hand. And then I just did like a quick run through of my stash. I found this super old Doodlebug tags and tabs sticker sheet, and this is from a way old line, Uncle Sam. I grabbed this boarding pass chip and stick mostly just because I thought the stars might be kind of cute to incorporate. And then I found this when I was going through, and there was a couple things that were peeking out that were pretty generic, even though this is a travel-based thing, travel girl, you know, travel girl. There's a couple things in here that are pretty generic that I think I might be able to kind of fill in with my die cut scene. And then these I had stashed in with my papers, so when these fell out, I was pretty excited to see those. And then I will either pull enamel dots, or I have these Nuvo drops, and I do have a red one downstairs, I just haven't brought it up yet. So I may grab that and maybe just do like red, white, and blue drops throughout the layout when I get done. But that's pretty much as far as I've gotten as far as planning. I have sort of started sizing my die cut shapes in Silhouette Studio. Basically what I do is I will create rectangles for where my photos are going to go, sized, you know, the same size, and then I can size my shapes within it, so it's almost like I'm almost doing like a digital layout before I start my layout, and that tends to just work for me. I got in the habit of it doing class kits and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put you guys on fast forward so you cannot hear my dogs and my kids, and we're gonna get going. Alright, so to get started, I'm gonna go ahead and trim my photos down, and like I had explained in the beginning of the video, I ended up pretty much sticking to the plan that I had laid out. I tend to do better, at least from, I guess, maybe like a motivation standpoint, and then, you know, actually following through, if I sort of think about things for a couple days ahead of time instead of just kind of winging it. So going into this one, I had already known that I wanted to do some type of a die cut scene, and already knowing that ahead of time, I knew that I kind of needed to set aside the time to do that, and not even just time of, you know, cutting everything out, and because I was doing multiple layers, cutting out the second layer, you know, gluing everything together, there is a little bit of time involved in sort of resizing everything in the software to make sure everything fits. But like I had said in the beginning, a lot of times if I'm gonna do something like that, I will pretty much almost do like a complete layout in the Silhouette software, and it's a habit that I had gotten into from designing page kits for a store that closed last year, and it just kind of helps me figure out the size that my Disney characters needed to be. So I sort of fall back on that when it comes to figuring out how to size like die cut scenes and stuff. I used to sit there with a ruler and kind of figure out what was the max height or the max width that I could go with a size, and I would almost end up taking more time to do it that way because I was having to recut stuff because it was either too big or too small or just it didn't look right. And once I figured out that if I almost made the scene completely in silhouette, it was a little bit easier. Now, I don't do like every single die cut piece that I'm gonna do. I don't lay it out in silhouette. Things like you'll see later, the firework bursts and stuff like that, I will just kind of do I'll eyeball the size, and a lot of times I will make like a small, a medium, a large, and I may not end up using all of them. And so you'll see later I did small, medium, large fireworks and small, medium, large stars. And I knew either I had options when it came to putting the scene together, or I could toss them. Like it's just paper. I didn't feel like I was going to be wasting anything at that point. So while I was going over all that, you can see that I am working in the order that I tend to work in, where I figure out where do I want my photos, how do I want my paper laid out, where's my title going, where's my journaling going. Then I will usually commit to my paper and my photo and go ahead and attach those. I don't work well with sort of laying everything out on the layout from beginning to end. It kind of bothers me when stuff starts moving around. So things that I know for sure that they're going to be there, I go ahead and put them down as soon as I know that. And I did end up switching the paper at the top from the notebook paper to the clouds. I have a hard time passing up clouds. It's kind of clouds and notebook paper, text paper, those are kind of my favorites, but I liked the idea that the clouds were going to be in the upper half of the layout, so I just kind of went with that. And I figure I can use the notebook paper on another layout. And then a lot of times to break up areas of the page like this, I like to do a border strip, whether that's from a sticker sheet or like this where I'm just punching some cardstock. I like being able to bring in a color that I feel like needs to be there, and also I like having border strips sort of going between where my photos and maybe where my die cut scenes would be. I just feel like it finishes it a little bit. So after I got my photos and my papers down, I went through the stuff that I had set aside, and I decided to go ahead and just make a pile of what I was pretty sure I was going to use. Normally I would wait until after I had done my die cut scene and stuff like that, and I sort of run into this thing where either I don't use the stuff that I pulled or I barely touch it. So I felt like switching up the order that I would normally work in and go ahead and pull that stuff out now so that it was out on my desk, I could see it, I could remember to use it, and I could kind of have it in the back of my mind to figure out a way to incorporate it. I don't like having it being 100% a paper die cut scene. I like mixing in different things like tags or chipboard, enamel dots, different stuff that's going to make it a little bit more interesting than just paper. And I tried to show the spray adhesive that I was using, but I ended up speeding this portion of the video up a lot just because it was basically doing some spray adhesive and doing like the drop shadow layer. And I tried the Krylon one, and I can't get it to not constantly clog up the nozzle, and so the one that I have tried and I feel like I like is the Elmer's Craft Bond spray adhesive. And I want to say I think I found this at Michael's, but the only thing that I have to remember when I use it is to try to wash my hands when I'm done, because it does kind of leave like boogers on your fingers, I guess. I'm not very careful about when I go to pick it up. Like, I will literally stick my finger on the sticky part to kind of pick it up. And I think if you use tweezers or something like that, you could kind of keep your fingers a little bit clean, but I'm kind of more of, let's just get it done. So here I'm taking these bigger pieces that I had purposely cut out in like neutral, just soft colors, which the silhouette of the United States was a gray, and then the sort of presidential one was just a tan color. And I put those behind my photos, and it's basically just taking up space, and it's sort of supporting the patriotic theme that I'm going with. And then I decided to go ahead and have my title span the middle. That was what I was originally intending. And normally I don't like to cut stuff that crosses the border between your left and your right page. But with this, I couldn't creatively get my mind to go anywhere else with the title, so I decided to just go with it and kind of be uncomfortable with it. And even with it being in a 3-ring binder and having a gutter, it's such a big title and it's such an obvious title that I don't feel like you're necessarily losing anything from it. So I just kind of didn't let that bother me. And then as I'm putting the scene together, I'm just trying to keep in mind sort of spreading out the colors. Like, I don't want to have all of my red fireworks on one page and all my blue fireworks on the other page. I decided to put those chipboard clouds to the bottom to kind of carry the clouds throughout the layout. I felt like if I put them at the top, they would just get lost and it would kind of start to get a little too much going on up there. So I'm just going back and forth between the things that I had cut out on my silhouette and the things that I had pulled out from that miscellany package and the chipboard pack and just those little bits and pieces that I had grabbed. And I'm just trying to make sure that I'm going to go ahead and use them up. And I even managed to grab a couple phrase stickers from that really old Doodlebug sticker sheet. And I kind of just went with the only two that was on there, was a red one and a blue one. And then I just went with the year. Obviously it's the 4th of July, so I just went ahead and put the year. And then I just went ahead and did some journaling strips. I didn't have a whole lot to say, and I didn't really leave myself a whole lot of room for journaling, so I kind of prefer journaling strips in that instance. So as with every month in this series, a link to Grace Tolman's video will be below. There will also be a link to her blog, so you can go check out her video and check out her blog. And if you want to leave me a comment below and maybe share with us what is something that you typically find yourself scrapping every July. So I will catch you guys next month for the monthly celebrations video for August.